This is Denmark and this is Iceland. We're going to see which country is the best by comparing the two in all kinds of categories. I will give them 1 to 10 points in things like food, economy, sports, quality of life and a bunch of other things as well. Then in the end, we will come to points together and see which of these two countries is gonna bring home the title. Now, let's get ready for the first category. Okay, let's start with the landscape and geography of the two countries. And there's a reason we start here, as the nature of the Nordic countries overall simply is breathtaking. No matter what country you're traveling to here, you're gonna find a pretty spectacular landscape, although they for sure are a bit different. And while Norway, Sweden and Finland have a pretty similar nature, both Iceland and Denmark stand out from their fellow Nordic brothers. Denmark is for sure the flattest of them all, with the highest point being roughly 170 meters. But just because it's flat doesn't mean it's boring. The landscapes of Denmark have a wide variety and a ton of natural beauty, with the most standout feature being its beaches, which sometimes makes you wonder if you're still in the Nordics or if you travel to a more southern latitude. Moon's Clint is another spectacular view in the country, and definitely makes you question if you're somewhere in the Mediterranean with all these white chalk cliffs rising up from the sometimes very tropical looking water. Denmark also has quite a lot of forests in the country, with the Rold Forest covering about 80 square kilometers. It's a beautiful dense forest with crooked trees and a ton of hiking trails for everyone to enjoy. But be aware though, as legend has it that trolls once lived in parts of these forests. Then there's the hilly landscape of Svanninge Hills, and of course the impressive granite formation on the island of Bornholm. Overall, Denmark's landscape is beautiful, so I give them 7 points in this category. Then we travel out into the North Atlantic Ocean until we reach land on the island that is Iceland. Now, if the landscape of Denmark offers gentle, serene landscapes and beautiful beaches, Iceland's landscape can best be explained as dramatic and absolutely mind-blowing. Iceland's landscape is just so different from pretty much every other country in the world, as it holds both glaciers, hot springs and waterfalls, but also volcanoes and lava fields. I mean, come on, how cool is that? So it doesn't really come as a surprise that this country often is dubbed the land of ice and fire. Volcanoes have had a big role in shaping Iceland's land, and while some are so-called sleeping, some are very much awake and can erupt, like the Eyjafjallajökull volcano did in 2010. The glaciers like Vatnajökull are the biggest in Europe and are slowly moving, creating rivers and waterfalls such as Gullfoss and Skogafoss. And something that's very unique is the beaches of Iceland, as they're completely black, a sight that you cannot see in very many places in the world. Then there's the lagoons, and especially the Blue Lagoon, which many have seen pictures of. The water here is warm and it's heated from the ground, making it a pleasant place to swim no matter how cold the surroundings are. Then we cannot forget about the Northern Lights. Although it's not really a landscape feature, Iceland is still the place where you have the highest chance to see the remarkable thing. In short, Iceland is a land of many faces, and shows us that nature can be both powerful and beautiful at the same time. So I'm giving a total of 9 points to Iceland in this category. Now let's move over to food. And when it comes to this, I'd say both countries have both highs and lows. It probably won't come as a shock to anyone that Icelandic cuisine is rooted deeply in the nation's maritime culture and isolated geography. Fish and seafood are the cornerstones of their food, with real classics like hardfiskur, which is kind of wine-dried fish, and is just as tasty as you think it is. Pickled herring is another, often served with some kind of dark rye bread. Then the famous drink skyr, which is rich in protein and typically served with a little bit of sugar and cinnamon. It's really tasty. And also good for you, I believe, as the drink is enjoyed by pretty much anyone from breakfast to dessert. As I mentioned, their isolated culture has made sure they use every part of the animal when they cook. And so dishes such as svit, which is sheep head, and hakarl, which is fermented shark, may challenge the unaccustomed palate of a tourist. This isolation also leads to the use of many indigenous ingredients, from wild berries to moss and seaweed. While this is Icelandic traditional food, now cities like Reykjavik are blossoming into a modern culinary scene where modern meets traditional. Taking into consideration the traditional dishes in Iceland and not only focusing on the new twists such as lobster pasta or fish and chips, which is obviously amazing, I give 5 points to Iceland for food. In Denmark there are plenty of tasty things to try, and some not so tasty ones as well. First and foremost, there's the classic, smørrebrød, the Danish type of an open-faced sandwich, and perhaps the most famous dish of them all. Basically, it's a slice of rye bread, and then a combination of toppings such as roast beef, eggs, mayo and shrimp. Even though these sandwiches may be a bit overrated, they're still a good thing to eat, and usually it's the first thing I have when I come to Denmark, simply just because it's part of the trip. The second thing I have is probably a hot dog. This dish is so incorporated in Danish culture, and you can find the hot dog vendors in a lot of places. I usually go for the red hot dog, because it feels fun and it's also really good. And here you won't get the bread and sausage and ketchup together, but separated on a plate. Now, we can't talk about food in Denmark and not mention pork. This is a big part of the food culture in Denmark, and stekt flæsk is their national dish. And that's crispy pork served with potatoes and parsley sauce. And then we have the pastries. Yeah, if it's something that the Danes do well, it's this. Wienerbrød, cinnamon snails and seed snappers are actually to die for. Then let's finish this section with the dish rødgrød med flød. It might be hard to say, but it's very easy to eat. I'm giving Denmark a total of 6 points for food. When it comes to the economy, both countries do well. One is obviously bigger in the total economy, while they are fairly similar in aspects that look at the per capita numbers. Denmark has roughly 352 billion in real GDP purchasing power, compared to Iceland's 20 billion. But when looking at GDP per capita, Iceland is a couple of placements over Denmark, sitting at $78,000, while Denmark is at $63,000. These numbers are projections from the 2023 from the IMF, and one of the reasons for the higher number for Iceland is the strong GDP growth rate they had in 2022, which was up 6.4%. Denmark gained 3.8% in the same period, giving both countries strong growth. Denmark has a diverse trade-based economy and is known for its high living standards, robust welfare state, and a high degree of economic quality, and is one of the best countries in the world to start a business. All in all, Denmark gets 8 points in economy. Iceland has, as mentioned, a smaller overall economy, and it's also somewhat more vulnerable due to its size as a country. They have a major tourism and fishing economy and have experienced some great growth since the financial crisis in 2008, with a negative bump in 2020 like most countries. Overall, Iceland gets 6 points in economy. When it comes to quality of life, all of the Nordic countries usually score very high, simply because these countries offer high standards of living, low pollution and a good safety net for their citizens. In fact, it doesn't get much better than this. And all of the 5 Nordic countries are usually in the top 10 list, no matter what study you read. In Denmark, the residents typically enjoy a high quality of life, supported by a robust welfare state, and the Danish model offers good healthcare, high-quality education, and a general safety net meant to ensure a balanced work-life ratio and limit poverty. In total, Denmark gets 9 points for its quality of life. In Iceland, the Icelanders also enjoy a high quality of living, with a strong emphasis on equality, social cohesion, and well-being. The country is noted for its gender equality, low levels of corruption, and strong community ties. And Iceland's education and healthcare system are both comprehensive and accessible. In total, Iceland also received 9 points in this category. When looking at sports, both countries possess a healthy sports culture and have been significant in various sports at international levels. Denmark has a very strong football culture and also have achieved notable success on the international stage. And FIFA currently ranks them in 18th place, which is pretty strong for a country with roughly 6 million people, in a pretty cold position, geographically speaking. They're consistently qualifying for World Cups and European Championships, and they even won one back in 1992. They're also a true powerhouse in handball, with both the men's and women's national teams securing numerous victories in Europeans and World Championships, and also Olympic Games. And the Danes' love for bikes in their everyday life also shows in the very good athletes they produce in the sport of cycling. Denmark participates in a lot of sports, from ice hockey to badminton and golf, and they do a decent job in many. And as mentioned before, a great job in some. As a nation, they deserve 7 points in this category. When I think of Iceland, I think of strong people first and foremost. I'm thinking of strongman competitors and CrossFit athletes. This small nation produces some serious force in these somewhat smaller sports. And this strength and mindset of these athletes seems to be a mindset that exists in other sports as well. In 2016, they made global headlines when their men's football team reached the quarter-finals in the UEFA European Championship, and has since then been known for their good defensive game, being a tough team to score on. In handball, they are a real force, and it's a widely loved sport in the country. and they even won the silver medal in the 28 Beijing Olympics. A tough nation with a strong mindset has given Iceland some athletes to be proud of. Overall, they deserve 5 points for sport. So, which country is winning when looking at tourism? Well, this category is actually super hard, because it all depends on what you're in the mood for. Generally speaking, there will be more to experience, for example in Copenhagen than Reykjavik. It is bigger and has more of everything, such as restaurants, shopping and historical sites. While in Iceland, you're in for an experience out of the ordinary, with views you probably never seen. Denmark has a ton more tourists when looking at pure numbers, while Iceland has them beaten by far when you look at tourists per capita. And the fact that such a small country can have such a huge tourist attraction is pretty impressive. Since the two are so different yet offer a great experience, I'm giving both 8 points for tourism. Now, it's finally time for what we all been waiting for. It's time to count the points together and see who our winner is. First, we have the landscape and geography, where Iceland got 9 points for its one-of-a-kind landscape, while Denmark got 7 points thanks to its gentle landscape and beautiful beaches. Then we had food, where Iceland received 5 points simply because the traditional food is a very hard taste, at least for me, while Denmark got 6 points for solid overall cuisine and a delicious dessert table. In the economy category, Denmark gathered 8 points with its diverse trade-based economy and the fact it's one of the best countries to start a business in, while Iceland got 6 points, thanks to the strong growth they've had, but it's a little more vulnerable being a small nation that it is. For quality of life, both countries are pretty much as good as it gets when it comes to this, together with the other Nordic countries and a few others, so they both received 9 points. Then in the sports section, one country does it a bit better, especially in the biggest sport in the world, football. Both countries have seen success with some athletes in different sports, but overall, Denmark has the upper hand here and got 7 points, compared to Iceland's 5 points. In the final category, we looked at tourism, and while both countries offer a great place to travel, they're just focused on various things. And with everything in consideration, I gave them both 8 points for tourism. Now, counting all these numbers together, and the final score is 42 for Iceland and 45 for Denmark. This means the Danes just beat their Nordic brothers in this matchup. Now, do you think it would have been a different score if we looked at other aspects? Let us know in the comments. Then, go learn more about countries by clicking on the videos on your screen right now.